So we absolutely have to talk about the stock market, as many are speculating that it is about to flip, and I wanted to go ahead and provide an update. This way everyone is in the know. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that year to date, the S&P 500 is up a whopping 25.89%. So double digits here, and just a friendly reminder, we saw double digits last year. And many are speculating, well, after having two major bullish years, the bull market is about to trend downwards. However, one of the things I want to mention is that historically, we've seen that the bull market lasts longer than 2 years. And a good example of this is what we saw during the late 1990s. For example, 1995, 1996, 97, pretty much all the years leading up to the dot-com bubble right before everything popped. And so, yeah, of course, bull markets don't last forever, but historically speaking, we have seen bull markets last longer than 2 years. In fact, we have this chart over here from Carlson Investment Research showing that the median length of a bull market is about 5 years. Now, currently, with the two bullish years that we had, we're kind of early in the stage, right? Again, that's just if things continue. We could still see a bull market end with just 2 years. We saw that back then in 1966, 68, etc. But one of the things I want to mention is kind of like where we're currently at, right? So everyone's kind of pointing towards the market kind of having some selling pressure after having a little bit of a bounce recently when the Fed's kind of took the punch away. And so many are speculating, well, are we about to start breaking down? Is a euphoric area about to collapse? And one of the things I also want to mention is that, yeah, we are seeing market breadth pretty weak, right? We saw the advanced decliners, or advancers and decliners kind of very red. We saw a majority of the market fall down in one of the last trading sessions. And so everyone's kind of panicking. Well, we're seeing the market fall down. We're starting to see the market breadth look very weak. And when you have market breadth and the market down, that's not a good sign of a healthy market. But I believe that we're actually in a phase called the distribution phase, right? And the distribution phase isn't the end of the world. It just means that right now we're just kind of cooling off. We may sell off a bit, but I think structurally speaking, the market is intact to push up higher, right? You have these accumulation phases, you move up, distribution phases, you fall down, and you could accumulate and pick back up. And a good example to kind of highlight that, things aren't really collapsing here is that when we take a look at the S&P 500, yeah, we fell down pretty much after we had the last FOMC meeting from the Federal Reserve, which was a bit disappointing. And then we're kind of having some selling pressure take place once again. But despite the selling pressure that we're seeing, we're still much higher than where we were in the last few months. I mean, look at September, which, historically speaking, September is just always a red month. Or not always, but a majority of the time. But we're much higher than we were before. And so the structure is still intact. Now, before we go ahead and touch on, small caps, which is another interesting story, just a friendly reminder that if you enjoy the content in this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well so that you don't miss out on any future updates. And with that said, let's go ahead and parse through IWM, the Russell 2000. And this is interesting because this is representative of the small caps. Now, we saw this huge bounce up after the election results with Trump winning, and we saw that small caps bounced up. And one of the main reasons behind this is because we have this president-elect, Donald Trump, who's kind of signaling towards less regulations, which is great news for small caps, right? Because it helps with mergers and acquisitions. It just makes it a more affordable environment for small caps who don't have, the same structure or teams that a lot of those large companies do have, right? And so with less regulations, it makes it easier for everyone, but more importantly, the smaller, companies and the small caps. But we started to see selling take place. And that's what's kind of concerning everyone because we're seeing small caps kind of send a mixed signal. On one end, we had this optimism that we're heading into, 2025 with a new president who is, favoring deregulation, less regulations, which is good. But then ultimately, we saw small caps fall down. Now, although this is a bit odd, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that small caps, it doesn't look like it's the end of the world simply because we're still structurally above where we were previously, again just like the S&P 500. And so yeah, it is a bit of a mixed signal, but it's also a mixed signal with the next president as well, because on one end we have the idea of inflation coming down. That's kind of one of the main campaigns that President-elect Donald Trump has mentioned. But then on the other end, the conversations of tariffs kind of have people debating about whether or not we're going to re-enter in an inflationary environment. In fact, that's kind of one of the reasons that the Federal Reserve mentioned that they're going to slow down on cutting rates, simply because of the new policies that may be implemented. And so again, not trying to delve into the world of politics. Of course, that's not my area of expertise, not my favorite area to discuss. But of course, we have to touch on policies coming into the United States and what could potentially happen, as it has ramifications towards the macro or just the global economy actually, and also individual companies. And so small caps are sending a signal, kind of a bad sign, but we're still higher. And so I'm giving small caps the benefit of the doubt. Now, I also want to just talk about things from a fundamental perspective, because we kind of touched on things from a technical perspective, S&P 500, small caps, and again looking at the S&P 500, we're still above where we were just a few months ago. But looking at things from like a bit of a fundamental scope, right? Here what we're looking at is the S&P 500 price to earning ratio and its historical price to earning ratio. And one of the things I kind of want to highlight here, right? And I should have not cut the chart off where it had like the actual title of what it was. But to kind of let everyone know what we're looking at, this is S&P 500's PE ratio and then historical PE ratio, right? You're just going to have to take my word on what this chart is. I should have not cut the title off. But regardless, what we're seeing is that the current PE levels indicate that investors are paying a bit of a premium for earnings, potentially kind of reflecting optimism about future earnings growth for the continuation of loose financial conditions, which it's not nor bad, because we're not at extremes like what we were during the 2020-21 era, right? You guys know that was just a crazy overvalued area, and that's why we ended up seeing and let's actually take a look. And let's go to a monthly chart, right? Let's take a look at 2022. Wasn't a great year. It was a bear market. Why? Well, I think things just got a little too elevated between 2020 and 2021, and so that's why we had that major correction. But this is just a secondary trend, right? When we're talking about the tenets of the Dow theory, you want to pay attention to the primary trend, the overall direction of the market. It's still intact, right? Yeah, we've had some corrections in 2022, but we're set to have the bear market still continue strength until proven otherwise. And yeah, we're having 2 great years, but that doesn't mean that we can't have any more, right? The party, again, we showed that it usually ends around 5, on average, or really being the median. And so we could definitely still be in the early stages of another bull market. And so that's actually pretty exciting. Now, going back to this picture over here, one of the things I want to mention is that of course, if earnings don't accelerate, then this current PE ratio could suggest limited upside for the S&P 500. However, the good news is a lot of analysts on Wall Street, right, the sell side analysts, have indicated that they expect earnings to still go up by double digits for 2025. And so that's pretty bullish, positive news. Again, you should only do whatever you see value in. If you're in the kind of the side or the party of, hey, look, the party is over and the S&P 500 is going to start falling down, we're going to have a bear market, then by all means do whatever you see value in for your trading strategy or for your portfolio management. Again, not here to encourage anyone to do one or the other, but based on what I'm seeing, I think that we still have some room left for the markets to actually push up. Now, real quick, for those interested, I do have the Push and Profit private group, and so if you enjoyed the content from this video and you want to get my perspective on the market every single day the markets are open, check out that link in the description below. It's going to be one of the first links in the description of this video. I'll also comment it. This way you could join the Push and Profit private group, where essentially every day I talk about what's going on in the markets and what names that like and what names I don't like, right? For example, I've been very vocal on names that I think are a bit overextended. I'm not going to mention them in this video, but I also have some names that I think are actually names I'm pretty interested, that I think a lot of people should probably be looking at. But again, if you're interested, check out the links in the description below. And with that said, make sure to check out this video right over here. And I highlight this video because this is a video breaking down a lot of the tenets from the Tao theory. So definitely check that out. Hopefully you guys find some value in that video. And I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.